Well, I'm with Edgar Corso Sosa of the National Human Rights Commission for Mexico. And Mr. Sosa, how would you quantify this problem? I mean, what are we seeing here in terms of this 5,000 plus migrant march towards the United States?
Well, what we're seeing right now is just people coming from Honduras. They have a long trip and they have many needs. So you can see right now that we are in the middle, I can say, of a journey, a long journey, and they are just, in this case, just resting and just having some effort just to continue the way. The next step is going to the federal district, Mexico City, and then they have in mind and they have a very, very defined idea just to get to the border, to the north border. So they are just coming through this state, which is Puebla.
And, sir, can you give us any insight into who is organizing this march, who is financing it?
No, I don't have any idea. What I can tell you is that there are some people assisting them as defenders, but I don't know really who is behind this, or if there is money, or even if there are any terrorists here in this group of persons.
Although a few days ago, Homeland Security in the United States issued a press release saying there are 290 criminals as part of this group. They have offenses ranging from aggravated assault with a weapon to sexual assault on a child. Is that a concern to people in Mexico and to people here in the city of Puebla?
Well, that would be a concern. That is right. But what I can tell you is that I don't see those problems. I think we are talking about two issues very different. What I see here is people with needs, faces just wanted just to have more opportunities in their life, and not any issue regarding to criminal issues. So this is very different. I don't agree. There is not a problem as you mentioned.
Well, I mean, certainly 290 out of 5,000 or so is a small number, but I'm just wondering why it's not in dispute that most of these people are fleeing terrible economic conditions in Honduras and other countries.
Violence, yes. Economic conditions, familiar separation, and some menace behind them. Some people that are going to be killed if they go back to the country. So there are many. There are reasons, very strong reasons, not to get back.
But a lot of people would say, sir, that why don't these people apply legally to come into the United States and become citizens that way?
Well, as I told you, if I've been said that I will be killed the day tomorrow, well, I don't have any time to do any legal requirement just to go to another country. I just take my things and go away.
Is there any way to verify that? I mean, certainly someone that wants to get into a country would indeed play that card, i.e. my life is in danger. If I go back, it's a death sentence. But how does one confirm that information as being true?
Which kind of information? Excuse me.
The fact that someone's saying if I go back to Honduras, my life is at risk.
Okay. That's a good point. I can tell you that I've seen people, for instance, that having some people blessed. I mean, they receive a shot in their body or something like that. And there are many neighborhoods that are very known that say if you belong to that neighborhood, that is almost for sure that we will have problems with them. So this is not so difficult to see what problems they are behind it.
Well, at the end of the day, it might be a moot point because, as you know, President Trump is mobilizing thousands of troops to the Mexican-U.S. border and is saying he is not going to allow this caravan to come in. Is a worry on the behalf of you and others that this long, arduous march was all for nothing because they're going to be turned back at the border?
Well, we do really respect the sovereignty of any country. But we also consider that this is not an issue that has to do with only one country. There must be and there is an international responsibility to share with people, to share with other governments. So even this is a sovereignty decision, you have an international solidarity that has to be done. So we don't see this as a border. We see people coming from different places. And this is an international responsibility that has to be shared.
Are you in favor of open borders when it comes to nations, sir?
I'm in favor of people with needs, people coming from one place to another place. That is what we consider. The person before, in the first step, before considering people as a migrant. You are not a migrant. You are before that. You are a person, and you have human rights. That's what we see.
I'm just curious, though, is there not a danger for the United States if they were to accept this group, this migrant caravan? Surely wouldn't there be a caravan starting every week from maybe all over the world? In fact, there's 2 more caravans that have just started from Honduras. I mean, would this just be the beginning of a deluge of illegal immigrants into the country?
The only risk, what I can see until now, is just seeing persons working hard, persons having needs and saying, I just want a new opportunity to work and to have money to earn, of course, and money to buy all the foods I need.
But I guess surely there's a limit in terms of the number of migrants, the number of refugees any one nation, even the United States, can accept.
Well, if you are a refugee, if you are requiring being a refugee, you have a procedure also, and the government is which takes the decision to leave you to have that resolution in favor of a person. So it depends on.
Well, sir, one last question. I'm going to ask you to do some crystal ball gazing. As we stated earlier, the president is mobilizing thousands of troops. He is, not going to allow, at least he says right now, he's not going to allow this to come into the country. What do you think is going to happen in the weeks ahead when these migrants get closer to the U.S. border?
Well, this is a thing. Well, this is a fact that we have seen many times before, the years before. This is not the first time. Well, this and really the first time that we have seen a group of persons so big, more than 7,000 persons. This is not usual, but what is usual, what we have seen is people walking, or going to the north. So what we are going to see, I think, is just people just getting to the north of our country, maybe trying to get to the USA, of course, or maybe trying to stay in Mexico. I don't really know. It depends on them, but they have in mind, since they left their country, they had in mind just to reach the USA.
Well, you raise a very good point with that answer when you say staying in Mexico. I mean, we've passed through some very poor places in Mexico following the migrant caravan.
You following them from there?
For about 5 days. No, for the last 5 days, sir. And we're just curious. Does Mexico as a nation have the resources to absorb 5,000 to 7,000 migrants?
Well, remember that in 1980s we received more or less 40,000 people coming from Guatemala. We also received many years ago people coming from Spain, and USA also received people coming from Great Britain. You also receive people coming from Mexico. Everybody received people. So.
And how did that turn out?
Excuse me?
How did that turn out going back to the 1980s? You were saying that you received 40,000 people from Guatemala.
They became people from Mexico.
Hey folks, continue to check out all my reports from Mexico at caravanreports.com. That's caravanreports, plural.com. And if you can, please chip in so that we can pay for this very important mission.